We're definitely finding Stephen in this episode, right? Right? Hello and welcome to the Battle in Barrow and another D&D campaign story overview, or as I like to call it now, the waffle session. Our characters are trying to find Stephen. Seems like forever. Poor Stephen. He's not having a good time wherever he's been captured. But surely this episode we're going to find him. The players know he's been kidnapped by the Wolfskull goblins. But they now know where the Wolfskull goblin lair is. And they're on their way there now. This is it. With the party now knowing where the lair is, they head off in that direction. And they enter the Dimrak forest sort of to the north and proceed through, and it's not long before they find the petrified area of the forest. And as they enter there, it's an eerie silence, not like when they entered the barrows and it just turned to night and silent. This is more, there's still sound, but all the sounds that you'd typically hear in the forest are not there. And as they enter, they are waylaid by some giant bats. Now, I thought this would be just quite a little keep them on their toes encounter, not too dangerous, but due to the way the dice rolled, the bats did a good job at depleting their resources in health and spell slots. So these almost killed them in the opening game. But they made it through and carried on searching. They come across a goblin patrol with dire wolves, but they hid before the patrol got to them, and it passed them by without them having to do anything. They then come across a river which led to where the lair was. There was a log bridge that they crossed that come to the entrance of the lair. The lair itself is made up of petrified trees. Now, the petrified trees were magically petrified, so they still have the leaves on, forming a dense canopy. And the goblins have sort of built a lair using stone and stone walls, which were overgrown with thickets, which also got petrified. Now, I didn't make specific terrain for this. I just used normal trees and these bendable old GW bushes to denote the walls and the standard doors I use. I didn't see the need to do this. You don't always have to do terrain. I'm just using this almost as a grid layout, so I'm not setting out every room, just to lay out the room as if you were going to draw it on a battle map. I like a bit of 3D terrain. The reason I didn't make it as a specific board is it's going to be a one use only. How many times do you come across a petrifying forest? I tend to only make terrain that I can reuse, mainly because my house is quite small. It's an old Victorian house, not very large. I don't have much storage, so I have to be very picky with the terrain. So anyway, they enter the lair and they see some goblins and some dire wolves. Some of the goblins run off into the next room towards the back, and while the rest attack. It's a bit of an epic battle with wolves and goblins dying, and out the back, where the other three goblins run, they sort of hear a sound of sort of a jangle of keys kind of sound, and a cage being open, and then as they're dealing with the situation from the area, another dire wolf runs out, and they have to fight that, and they can hear again the keys rattling and the sound of a cage being opened, and another one comes through. So they decide to quickly try and take out the goblins in there with archery, so they don't let any more out. They then proceed to make it through, explore the lair, where they come to a sort of room that has a door up ahead and a door to the right. They listen at one door and they can hear a load of goblins, as if there is something going on in there, and they listen to the other door and they don't hear anything. So Witchy Poo tries that door, but it is in fact a room that is occupied by goblin guards guarding an old human lady in a prison cell. So she gets involved with combat with that, whilst on the other door The ranger sneaks open his door a bit so it doesn't alert what's in there, and he can see what must be the goblin chief, the goblin king, with bodyguards and a load of other goblins. So he comes up with a plan. Throughout the campaign, right back at the beginning, he bought some ball bearings, which he's tried to use numerous times without much success. It's either been a case of he's found his throw to launch them where he wants to, and they've just landed not in the right place, or the tactics the monsters have used have rendered where the ball bearings landed useless. So hopefully this is the time. He throws the ball bearings, sort of opens the door, gets the goblins to run towards him, throws the ball bearings, and it works. And they have to, how we worded it is, they're going to make dex saves or they get knocked prone. Meanwhile, Witchy Poo is doing her best of taking out these goblin guards on her own with her fire-based magic. She is literally a bright wizard from Warhammer at this point. This would have been a tough battle, but due to good tactics on Ranger's part, he's taken out most of the goblins by falling over. Then between him and Wolf, he takes most of them out. So we get to use the ball bearings, and that is brilliant. There is one goblin that comically, he falls down, he gets back up, he tries to move, he falls down, he gets back up. It's like something from the Three Stooges, and that was just making us laugh. Once all this is dealt with, they go and try and free the old lady in the cage, but she is so terrified that she won't say anything. She's incoherent no matter what they do. No amount of intimidation or coercion is going to get her to speak while she's in this lair. They leave her there for a bit because she's just huddled in the cage. They explore a bit further into the lair where they come across another log bridge. This time it's a hollow bridge. You have to walk through the log. Luckily, Witchy Poo thinks to search for traps while she's doing this, because she notices a weak spot in the log that if she stepped on, she would have fallen out into the water below, which is black and murky and actually full of piranhas. But luckily she makes it past that, and they come to another room. This is Vlak the Hobgoblin, who is sort of one of the big bosses in this, I guess, sort of second in command. This is his room, and he has 3 guard dogs, or as we know what goblins like using as guard dogs, drunk weasels. And as the party enter, they begin to rush towards them. There is 2 turns here that the party have to act, to think of something before these guard dogs attack. And they come up with a brilliant plan, and it is what I'd consider the correct bit of action. They throw some food down. They got some food on them. They throw some food at these things, and yeah, they then eat the food. There's pretty much nothing really else going on in this lair. The far door is which is actually Vlak's room itself. The front room they were just in was more of a sort of meeting room, the Hobgoblin's meeting room. This is his actual chambers, and in here he's left 3 foals. Now these are a sort of Mystara based monster. We've encountered them before during this campaign, that are sort of a cross between a troll, a ghoul and a hobgoblin. But being that we have Witchy Poo the Bright Wizard, they don't regenerate with fire, and so she makes between them they make pretty short work out of them. They find some search around. They find some treasure, including some arrows of +2, so that's quite nice. But apart from that, this is pretty much it for the lair. They go back and retrieve the old lady and take her outside and proceed to make their way back to the homestead. On the way she becomes much more relaxed, and she lets them know that her name is Babushka. She was captured during the goblin raid of Kurkas, so that was just before the Sulaskin one. They were brought here and put in a cell, and later they were joined by 5 other prisoners, including Stephen. So he was there. They didn't find him, but he was there. She tells them that the goblins and hobgoblins were searching for something called what they were referred to as the Great Map, but none of the prisoners knew what they were talking about. Now the plans have already worked out. This Great Map is that weird tapestry, so they're getting more and more clues and piecing it together. So they ask her, where did the rest of the prisoners go? And she says they went to the ruins of Sitica, but they left her behind because she was too old and not worth worrying about, which is quite sad. Does she know where this sitter car is? And she says, unfortunately, she doesn't. So they're like, again, they're just too late to rescue Stephen. They take her back, and they're at a loss now. No one at the homestead has heard of this ruins. But then, the old Nan Kuzma sort of says, why don't they try how did she refer to it? She referred to it as the man centaur or something like that. And they sort of laugh at this. Ask the horseman of the moor, she refers to it, and they laugh and say, it's just sort of a legend, and even if it is true, if he's into horses, will they help a family that trades in horses? It seems a bit weird. She suggests just doing it, and she says they have to whistle at midnight on a high moor for 3 nights, running while standing on one leg. It seems ridiculous, but there's no other choice here, so the players go off and do this. After resting and healing and restocking up on supplies, they head off to the moors for 3 nights, and they try this. Now, there are random events going on here, but most of them are quite uneventful, so I won't regale you with them here. Most of them just involve wolves and bears and avoidance, really. But on the 3rd night, they do indeed meet Loshad, the Cheval. At first, he's in horse form, and the players recognise it as the horse that has been following them through their adventure. He turns into a centaur form and asks why have the players summoned him. The players let him know the situation, and he looks thoughtful, and he says he will do it on 2 conditions. 4 nights from now, the party must bring Loshad to this place, the heads of the werewolf Balakash and her son Kalash. Both are blood enemies of horses, and they've been doing a lot of horse killing of late. He will let the party know where their lair is, and he suggests that he hunts them at night when most of the pack will go out hunting. The players can go in, kill what's sort of the remaining pack that's left in the lair, and set up an ambush. And secondly, that they set their horses free in a month's time. The players do agree to this. It's not like they're short of a bob or two, so they can just buy some new war horses when they get back to town or what have you. So they agree to this, and they go off to the wolf's lair where Loshad tells them where it is. Now, I apologise here. Normally I take pictures, but we got so into this part of the game, I just took a picture at the beginning and the end. So all the werewolf pictures are not here, so I apologise. They go in, and as Loshad said, there's just a small pack of ordinary wolves which the players quickly take out. They have a quick search of the lair, and it's just full of bones and debris, and it doesn't smell very nice. At the top of the lair, when they come in, they notice that above it was a statue. So Ranger climbs up on the outside and works his way around to the statue. And whilst it's not very helpful for their plan, it does have 2 gems for eyes, which he pries out. So their plan that they come up with is, right, whilst the statue isn't any good for the ambush, Ranger hides out on sort of the top of the entrance, hidden behind rocks, with a rope tied so he can make a quick descent, and he's going to wait there whilst Witchy Poo hides in one of the offshoot rooms of the lair. And they wait. I know what time the wolves are coming back. I sort of did a random roll for this. It was 2d4 hours from the time players arrived. I know it's 3 o'clock, they don't. And so the night plays out. And we'll get straight to the end of here when the werewolves arrive. What we do is Ranger has a surprise attack on them. He manages to kill some of the other wolves and do some damage to the werewolves with his Halathorn's ability. And with that, the werewolves rush in. Now, werewolves have a good sense of hearing and smell, so they weren't aware of where the attacks come from, just a rough error. So I rolled for perception, and this will happen throughout this battle, so I won't go over it again. But I failed every perception roll, even though they have advantage on it. And so They didn't know where the arrows come from, so they just ran into the lair thinking it was there. As they run in, a witchy poo from hiding released a fiery spell of death. Again, they failed perception of where that come from, and so they're able to take out quite a few of the wolves and really lower the hit points of the werewolves quite a lot. Ranger obviously has +1 and +2 arrows, magical arrows. He has acid arrows, so whilst there's no damage from the arrow itself, the acid does do damage to the werewolves in my mind, how I worked it out anyway. But it come down to the last. I mean, it was a bit of an epic battle with the players almost losing hit points, the werewolves losing hit points. The son got killed and it was just the mother left, and she in a rage manages to rush towards Witchy Poo, and this battle took Witchy Poo down to 1 hit point remaining. But more importantly and worse than that, she got bit, and that means she turns into a werewolf on the next full moon, which coincidentally is the same time that they have to return the horses by to Loshad. So this is a tragic ending to the game. Not only is she badly wounded, but she's a werewolf, and I am running this in Becmi rules, where demi-humans can't be werewolves. Instead of turning, they just die. So the clock is ticking. So the players are now thinking how they're going to do this. They need to get a cleric, they need to go back to town possibly to find a high level cleric, and that's where we end the session. Wow, this was a real good one. I really enjoyed this game, and you have to wait till next time to find out what happens. So thanks for listening to my waffle. Until the next video guys, stay safe, take care.